Since childhood, I have been raised and loved by my grandparents. Unfortunately, my grandmother passed away due to a minor accident. Around that time, I received a sudden message from Alex's wife, with whom I had lost contact for a long time. The content of the message was a request to take in my grandmother, who was supposed to have passed away 3 months ago. Although there are many things I want to say, my beloved grandmother has indeed passed away. I witnessed it with my own eyes. This phone call will lead to everything becoming clear. I am Elizabeth, 45 years old, and single. The last time I had a relationship with a man was during my university days. We eventually broke up, and after graduation, I joined a major cosmetics company. I worked tirelessly in the marketing department, where overtime and weekend work were the norm. Before I knew it, I missed my chance to get married. But that's not the reason for changing my job. 6 years ago, I switched careers to work as an office worker in a nursing home. In the past, I used to be jostled around in a crowded train that took an hour and a half each way, and I would be lucky if I could catch the last train home. Now, it takes less than 10 minutes by bicycle from my home. I have regular days off according to the calendar, and overtime is rare. But the real reason for my career change isn't related to any of this. I have never left my parents' home since birth. I have confidence in my financial stability, and I'm skilled at household chores. So why haven't I moved out? It's because I love my family, especially my grandmother. I was born and raised in New York. Our family consists of my parents, grandparents, and my older brother Alex, who is 5 years my senior. Just now, I mentioned that I love my family, but my feelings toward Alex are complicated. In the past, I undoubtedly loved him. He was a kind and caring older brother. However, Alex has changed. After graduating from college, he quickly started living on his own and joined a car company as a salesperson. 2 years later, he got married through an office romance. Since then, he has become more and more distant, never visiting our parents' home during Christmas or New Year's. I only know that he vaguely lives in Kentucky. I don't even know if he has children. When was the last time I saw Alex's face or had a conversation with him? It feels like at least 5 years have passed. Alex's last words to me were,
"Since becoming a manager, I've been busy. I'll leave everything related to our parents' house to you."
That straightforward statement left me with the impression that he's heartless. That's why I decided not to move away from home when changing jobs, to protect our family. Our parents are already retired. Our 93-year-old grandfather suffered a stroke a few years ago and, although he recovered, he can't manage without assistance. Currently, our parents take care of him. And then there's my beloved 92-year-old grandmother. Since both our parents worked, it was our grandparents who looked after us when we were young. My grandmother especially taught me everything I needed to survive. Although she can't venture far now, she's still lively enough to walk freely around the house. So, I chose to work in a nursing facility to be prepared for any situation involving my grandmother. One day, I was getting ready to leave for work when my grandmother called out to me from behind.
"Beth, you forgot something."
I replied, "Huh?" I didn't forget anything. But my grandmother insisted.
"Here, take some candy."
She handed me a few pieces of candy. "Ah, I see. Thank you." I smiled. Candy has always been a favorite of both my grandmother and me. I tucked it into my suit pocket and left the house with a smile. Then, a sudden accident occurred. My grandmother had a serious accident. According to my father's call, she had hung her laundry on the second-floor balcony as usual, but while descending the stairs, she slipped and fell. It was something I had always worried about. I used to tell her to leave the laundry to our parents and avoid going upstairs because it was dangerous. However, my grandmother had a stubborn side. She believed in doing what she could herself. No one was at fault. It was an unfortunate accident that could happen to anyone. What followed happened swiftly. My grandmother suffered complex fractures in her thigh bone and pelvis. Unfortunately, she couldn't be discharged from the hospital where she was taken, and just 4 months later, she passed away from old age. Of course, I felt sad. I cried and cried until I was emotionally drained. But I'm an adult now. There's no time to dwell in sorrow. I have to handle everything, including the funeral arrangements. My grandmother's roots were distant, and we had no close relatives to contact. Ultimately, our family decided to hold a funeral for her with only immediate family members. Well, I have to call Alex and his wife. However, I was foolish to think that they would immediately respond once I contacted them. Neither phone calls nor emails were getting through. I sent emails, but there was no reply. As a last resort, I sent a short message on my smartphone, and the response came on the day of the funeral.
I'm far away for work and extremely busy. I'm sorry, but I can't attend. I'll send money later.
Who cares about money? I got angry when I read the message. Could his work really be more important than bidding farewell to our grandmother, who had cared for us so much? It was utterly unacceptable. I placed flowers and some candy, her favorite, into the beautifully made-up coffin of my grandmother, who looked as if she were merely sleeping. From that moment, my perception of Alex changed. I began to despise him. Since then, the seasons have changed, and now it's winter. For me, spring, summer, autumn, and winter are all the same. I wouldn't mind if it were winter forever or scorching summer all the time. I've even considered quitting this job altogether. But my grandfather is still alive. And someday, my parents will also need care. I still have much to learn. On a weekday lunch break, my mind empty, I diligently continued working. Unexpectedly, I received a call from an unlikely person. If I hadn't registered her number, I wouldn't have answered. The screen of my smartphone displayed Amelia. We had only spoken briefly after a wedding, as far as I could remember. What could she want now? Should I ignore it? But the ringing wouldn't stop. With a sigh, I decided to answer the call. Hello, this is Elizabeth. I replied. Amelia hesitated before speaking.
I apologize for interrupting your work. I'm Alex's wife, Amelia. It's been a while.
Ah, yes. Despite being older and in a higher position, Amelia always maintained a humble demeanor. Even when Alex and I suddenly got married, she greeted not only our parents but also me with proper respect. In short, she's a good person. That's why I couldn't understand why she was contacting me now. It's okay. How can I assist you? I asked, trying to keep my tone as neutral as possible. Amelia continued.
I feel awkward saying this, but It's about your grandmother.
Is something wrong with my grandmother? My frustration slipped into my voice.
Under my husband's instructions, we've been taking care of your grandmother. However, it's been over a month since the promise time. Could you come and pick her up?
What? I genuinely couldn't comprehend what Amelia was saying. Wait a moment. That was the best I could say. So, Amelia is taking care of my grandmother, who died 3 months ago. This was the question I came up with after thinking hard. I know this is incoherent, even for me. But the same goes for Amelia.
Yes, your grandmother is with us.
What? She passed away? 3 months ago?
Her surprised voice sounded genuine. Can we both calm down a bit? I suggested, and Amelia agreed. A few minutes later, I regained my composure and carefully explained the circumstances that led to my grandmother's passing. Amelia's response, however, was perplexing. According to her, Alex's grandmother needed care, and they had taken her in temporarily until preparations could be made at our family home. This led to two possible conclusions. Neither Amelia nor I are lying. If this is true, then Alex is the one lying. I had anticipated that someone might tell such an easily debunked lie. But now, there were more pressing matters. I need to contact Alex immediately, but I'm almost unreachable on his phone. I told Amelia.
Even I haven't touched my husband's cell phone. But if it's just a call, I can use my phone while he's at home. Anne.
Amelia hesitated. And? I asked.
Recently, my husband has been working remotely more often. If I ask, he might agree to a video call.
While face-to-face persuasion had its merits, there was a problem. I don't even know where both of you are currently living. I pointed out.
We've been in Pennsylvania for over 10 years, so visiting your place would be easy.
Amelia replied. For now, we made a promise to talk to Alex via Amelia's phone later that night. Other strategies were also devised. With complicated feelings. After all, Philadelphia is just the neighboring state. How far would he go with his lies? Asking her to take care of a stranger's elderly woman just a few months after my grandmother's passing? It's too much. It's downright repulsive. I returned home and called Alex on Amelia's smartphone at the specified time of 8:00 p.m. By Amelia's kind offer and insistence, she's currently waiting in my bedroom. Despite my numerous attempts to contact him being ignored, Amelia's phone was answered soon. The speaker was on so that Amelia could hear the conversation.
Amelia, where are you right now? You haven't even prepared dinner.
His high-handed and arrogant tone. This wasn't the Alex I knew. It's me, Alex. I informed him.
Huh?
He was clearly confused. As expected, I waited for his response.
Elizabeth, is that you? Why? Where's Amelia?
I'm here.
Amelia's response was brief.
You! Why are you with Elizabeth?
Alex was momentarily speechless but quickly continued.
Wait, did you tell Elizabeth about the matter?
Yes, I informed her.
Amelia remained matter of fact.
I told you it was too early to discuss that.
Alex's attitude suddenly changed. The matter in question was undoubtedly about my grandmother. I've heard from Amelia that you've been working remotely recently. I interjected.
And what does that have to do with anything?
I could vividly imagine Alex's stern expression. From here on, why don't we continue the conversation face-to-face using a remote work app? I'll send you the ID and password. I proposed.
If Alex refuses, I'll take Elizabeth back home.
Amelia provided backup.
Fine.
Reluctantly, Alex agreed. I sent Alex the ID and password via Amelia's smartphone. After a short wait, his face appeared on my computer screen. He had gained some weight since I last saw him, but there was no mistaking it was Alex.
So, what's this urgent matter that requires a face-to-face conversation? I'm busy.
His audacity to continue lying at this point infuriated me. It's obvious, isn't it? It's about Grandma. You asked her to take care of my grandmother, who passed away 3 months ago. What does that mean? To my surprise, Alex responded.
Are you misunderstanding something?
His calm reply left me speechless.
Grandma's not dead. She's in my care now. And it was you, Elizabeth, who asked me to do that in the first place.
What? This time it was my turn to be speechless. Is he really that scared of Amelia finding out the truth? Can people really be so despicable? And it's the real Alex. I'm so angry that tears come to my eyes. But I sent a short message too, I said tearfully.
I don't remember. Besides, Grandma is here. Should I bring her over?
Please do, I replied. Alex was completely unapologetic. There was no time for tears. Alex stood up and returned a few minutes later, accompanied by an elderly woman in a wheelchair.
Look, Grandma, say hello.
Elizabeth. It's been a while.
The elderly woman spoke hesitantly. This charade needed to end. My anger surged once more. She's a completely different person. In reality, the elderly woman on the computer screen bore no resemblance to my beloved grandmother. Besides, my grandmother always called me Beth, never Elizabeth.
Appearances change as people age. She might be showing signs of dementia lately, so it's no wonder your memory is fuzzy.
Alex was determined to stick to his story. In that case, you probably won't accept a death certificate as proof, I retorted.
Of course. Nowadays, documents can be easily manipulated.
His defiant smile irritated me. But I had prepared my own strategy. Then I'll show you some evidence. Just wait a moment, I said, leaving the room. A few minutes later, I returned to my bedroom with the evidence.
Ah, Alex. It's been a while. This disobedient child.
Grandpa! But you were bedridden!
Alex's eyes widened at the sudden evidence.
I was prepared for death at one point. Even now, I can't go to the bathroom without assistance. But my mind is still sharp.
He continued.
I've heard Elizabeth's side of the story. The woman on the screen is my wife? Ridiculous. My wife was more beautiful.
Ah.
Cornered, Alex hung up the call. He was probably trying to exit the remote session too. Emilia, who had been silent until then, finally spoke up.
Are you running away, Alex? To Elena's place, perhaps?
Even through the computer screen, I could see Alex's face turn pale.
What?
I've suspected this for a while. Alex, you underestimate me.
Emilia's tone was firm.
Your grandmother often mentioned Elena. Of course, that's not my name or my mother's name.
Well,
I also confirmed with Elizabeth. She doesn't recognize the name Elena either. I've been certain for a while. I even hired a private investigator to look into your affair.
what?
The results came quickly. Photos of your affair. Proof that your grandmother is Elena's grandmother. You were preparing for our divorce, weren't you?
It all began with Emilia's woman's intuition. Alex, or rather, Alex's high likelihood of being involved with another woman, his affair with a coworker named Elena in her late 20s, his decision to care for Elena's grandmother, who had dementia, to gain favor with her, and his plan to burden my family with her before she entered a facility. He used every means to divorce Emilia without admitting fault, remarry Elena, and secure a future. Emilia gathered evidence of all this and reached out to me. Honestly, Emilia is an incredibly intelligent woman, far beyond what her appearance and demeanor suggest. If you have something to say, go ahead, I asked Alex, emphasizing that I would only listen.
I'm truly sorry. I didn't mean to deceive you. Neither did Emilia. I'll end things with Elena. So,
Alex apologized through the screen. My sharp-witted grandfather chimed in.
Technology has come a long way. Even your tear-streaked face is visible from a distance.
Grandpa, please help me.
Fool! I never want to see your face again after using my wife, neglecting my cute granddaughter and your wife. This is the end.
Elizabeth. You too.
Right now, the most important person in this house is your grandfather. And by the way, I never want to see your face again either, I retorted.
Emilia.
The divorce proceedings are already underway. I'll return to my parents' home, and we'll meet in court next.
Well then, that's that. Goodbye, Alex. As I finished speaking, I clicked the exit button on the remote conversation. The seasons changed. I stood alone at my grandmother's grave, mentally sharing various updates. Alex divorced Emilia, and naturally, Emilia was advantageous. Alex ended up paying an enormous amount in alimony and even sought refuge at my parents' house once. But with my sharp-minded grandfather's authority, he was effectively disowned. Apparently, the will even stated, Alex is not family. As for Elena, she hoped to remarry Alex, but the real world isn't so forgiving for a divorced, debt-ridden man in his 50s. In the end, he quit the car company he'd worked at for years, now living in a cheap, cramped apartment, working day labor jobs while continuing to pay alimony. In these times, it's hard for a middle-aged man with no qualifications, let alone negative savings, to find new employment. It's all karma. Most of the information about Alex came from Emilia. Since then, Emilia and I have become friends, meeting quite frequently. And so, as I stood up and said, "It's all over, Grandma. See you later." A strong gust of wind blew. Simultaneously, I heard a voice I loved very much.
Beth, thank you. Take care of your grandfather a little longer, won't you?
Grandma. I suddenly realized I was tightly gripping something in my right hand. There, in my palm, was a piece of candy. That's strange. I hadn't brought any candy today. I'm not one to believe in gods or ghosts, but perhaps my grandmother is still watching over me somewhere? No, it's probably just that I unconsciously put it in my pocket before leaving. But if I consider that my grandmother might still be watching over me, I feel like I can keep going in life. Thank you, Grandma. I whispered, looking up at the sky, and left the cemetery.
How did you like this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.
Happy birthday.
With those words, my husband smiled broadly.
Mom, here's a present.
My son handed me a bouquet with delight. On a sunny Saturday, at that moment when I heard their words, I was taken aback. For 5 years since our marriage, we had led ordinary yet happy days as a family. Even after my husband's work became busier, I managed childcare and household chores alone. Because I loved this family and wanted to protect the time we spent together as three, I wondered if this was the result. Why is this happening? With frustration, I made the decision to leave my husband. I am Emma, 32 years old. As a nail artist, I ran a shop from home. My husband Daniel, who was the same age, worked as a company employee and cherished me and our 4-year-old son Leo. On weekends, he took us to amusement parks or went on picnics with packed lunches. We were a seemingly blessed family, always smiling. But little did I dream that such happy days were gradually coming to an end.
Emma, I'll be working overtime today and tomorrow, so I'll be home late.
Is that so? You seem busier lately.
Yeah. We've got new clients, and training the new hires is keeping me busy. Plus, I have a business trip next week, so remember that.
One morning, I sighed as I watched Daniel leave in a hurry. For the past few months, his work had become significantly busier, and our face-to-face time had decreased. He had overnight business trips twice a week, and he often returned home late at night. Before opening my own nail salon, I had worked in a company too, so I understood the demands of unavoidable work and busy seasons. However, since our marriage, his workload had never been this intense, and my confusion was undeniable. And there's one more thing that bothers me. Come to think of it, I need to stop by the bank today. We need money again. I felt even more disheartened. According to Daniel, the company's policy had changed, and he no longer received reimbursement for business trips. On top of that, other out-of-pocket expenses had increased. With additional social gatherings, our spending has become quite intense lately. It's ironic that while we work to earn money, it seems to flow out in the opposite direction, leaving us dissatisfied.
There's nothing we can do, right? It's part of the job, and you need to understand. After all, we're a couple supporting each other.
However, when I gently raised the issue, Daniel's reaction seemed more exasperated than understanding. Despite this internal turmoil, I tried to convince myself to manage our finances diligently. After all, although expenses had risen, they hadn't become overwhelming, and Daniel always made sure to be home on weekends, playing with our son Leo. I think we're spending too much money and time on work. But Daniel must be considering us. Although there were lingering doubts, I chose to silently observe Daniel. Then, some time passed, and something happened.
Since you're handling everything during the week, let me take care of Leo on weekends.
At a certain point, he started taking Leo out somewhere every weekend. Initially, I thought he was creating free time for me, as he had promised. Indeed, with Daniel taking Leo out, I could refresh myself alone. However, gradually, I began to feel uneasy about his actions. Hey, how about the three of us going somewhere next Saturday? Thanks to your help, I've had enough alone time.
Huh? No, that won't work. If work gets even busier than now, I won't be able to make time like this.
But, being alone at home on weekends still feels lonely.
That's a luxury problem. Anyway, rest without worrying about Leo.
For some reason, Daniel stubbornly avoided including me in their outings. Rather than concern, it felt like he was excluding me. Furthermore, despite his efforts to reduce my burden, he only took Leo out for fun, never helping with daily chores. When I gently advised him,
You want me to do more? That's being selfish.
I ended up receiving a reprimand instead. While I had supported Daniel all along, I couldn't help but feel bothered by this situation. Could he be hiding something? Not long after that, on a Saturday, something happened. On this day, Daniel and Leo had gone out somewhere together, leaving me at home, absent-mindedly watching TV. Suddenly, my phone rang, catching me off guard.
Hello. Emma, do you have any plans today?
The moment I heard that voice, my previously downcast heart brightened. The caller was Ms. Smith, a 42-year-old woman. She had been my most loyal customer since my apprentice days as a nail artist. Despite our long association, she still appreciated my skills and continued to visit my salon. Our relationship went beyond that of a client and employee. We had become quite close.
It's sudden, but I have an important commitment tomorrow. If it's okay, I'd like to request a nail appointment.
Of course. Would it be all right if I come to your home as usual?
That would be great. Thank you as always.
After ending the call, I quickly gathered my work tools and headed to her house by car. Although I primarily operated my salon from home, I occasionally provided on-site services for clients. I'm looking forward to meeting Ms. Smith. With excitement, I set off for work. However, as I stepped out of the car toward the entrance of her apartment building, an unexpected event unfolded. What is that? At that moment, I looked up toward the nearby park, drawn by cheerful voices, and witnessed an unbelievable scene.
Happy birthday!
Mom, here's a present.
There they were, Daniel and Leo, merrily laughing alongside a woman I didn't recognize, who was being called Mom. The woman, having received flowers from Leo, smiled naturally and affectionately patted his head. What shocked me even more was that Daniel didn't intervene. Instead, he proudly watched their interaction. This can't be true. Why would this happen? As darkness closed in before my eyes, a part of me remained oddly calm, recalling everything that had led up to this moment. It must be infidelity. The sudden increase in business trips and overtime, the financial strain, Daniel excluding me from outings with Leo, and now this woman being addressed as Mom. Each piece of information was more than enough to convince me that Daniel had betrayed me. Before they noticed, I secretly captured their image in a photo and headed to Ms. Smith's apartment, my mind in turmoil. Honestly, I wasn't sure if I could perform my job effectively in this state, but I couldn't neglect such an important client. Yet, it seemed Ms. Smith knew me better than I thought.
Oh. You seem a bit down. Has something happened?
Although I tried to maintain composure, the moment we began the nail session, she looked at me with a concerned expression and asked. Unable to hold back, tears welled up in my eyes. Immediately after witnessing the scene, I was in turmoil, but being betrayed by Daniel, whom I loved, was still a significant shock.
Tell me what's going on. Maybe I can help.
With a calm voice, Ms. Smith encouraged me, and I poured out everything, forgetting about work. As she listened, her eyes widened in surprise. And from that point on, events took an unexpected turn. A few days later, on a weekday evening, invited to Ms. Smith's apartment, I stood silently with her near the entrance. However, this time, I wasn't there for a nail appointment. Since that day, I had been working with her to devise a way to punish Daniel. When I explained the infidelity to Ms. Smith, I discovered even more shocking facts than I had anticipated.
It seems they're back.
The moment we heard loud voices from behind the door, Ms. Smith and I rushed out of the entrance.
What? Emma! Why are you here?
There stood Daniel, looking astonished, and the woman who had been called Mom that day. Both froze, their hands on the door handle, gaping open-mouthed. That's my line. Weren't you supposed to be on a business trip today?
No! She's someone from work. But what about Leo? And who is she?
Leo is with my parents. Ms. Smith helped me. She's here to expose your affair. My angry voice made Daniel narrow his eyes. After confessing about witnessing the decisive scene that day, Ms. Smith hesitated for a moment and then asked about the woman's appearance. Remembering the photos I had taken, I promptly showed them to her, and she gasped.
Unbelievable! That woman lives next door to me. Her name is Madison.
What a twist of fate. Daniel had chosen to have an affair with none other than my loyal customer's neighbor. Following Ms. Smith's suggestion, I contacted Daniel's workplace. To verify whether the business trips were real, I learned that not only were there no trips, but he hadn't even worked overtime. Furthermore, if there had been any trips, the company reimbursed transportation expenses. This revelation confirmed that Daniel had completely betrayed me. Today, I know there's no business trip. So, with Ms. Smith's help, I waited for your return. I wanted to catch you coming home with your affair partner. As I glared at the two of them in anger, Madison, Daniel's affair partner, returned my gaze defiantly. According to Ms. Smith, Madison appears to be in her late 20s, but she seems completely unrepentant or unaware of her actions. Daniel is no different.
While it's true there might not have been a business trip, she really is a coworker, and today, she was supposed to come to her house for a work meeting.
Daniel grinned as if blaming me, as if I were the one at fault. But my patience had finally run out. Despite his busy work schedule, I had endured and believed he cared for us. But now, seeing Daniel abandon his devoted wife for another woman. I had no sympathy left. Huh? You two were making a ruckus while drunk and working?
They were so noisy. It was unbearable. I even recorded it to complain to the building manager.
Finally, Daniel and Madison looked shocked by our words. Apparently, every time they cheated, they made a commotion in their room, causing Ms. Smith sleepless nights. When I played the recorded audio, embarrassingly, Daniel's voice was clear. And I secretly checked your phone. They seem to have quite a lovey-dovey exchange. There's no escaping now.
When did you see my phone? Isn't that an invasion of privacy?
At that moment, realizing he was cornered with decisive evidence, he raised his voice in anger. Then, for some reason, Daniel stepped forward with a defiant smile.
What? Do you want a divorce?
Well, I can't be with you anymore.
Fine, we can get divorced. But do you understand? Leo belongs to me.
His argument was unfathomable, and I furrowed my brow. Misunderstanding my hesitation, Daniel confidently began confessing everything.
Leo already likes Madison. He'll choose me over you.
As I listened, it turned out that Madison's transfer to Daniel's department had sparked their affair. While Daniel increasingly wanted to marry her, he didn't want to let go of Leo. So, he spoiled Leo and introduced him to Madison on weekends, hoping that when they divorced, Leo would choose him. Hearing this, my anger grew even more. It was clear how little Daniel valued Leo's feelings. You know, Leo isn't that naive.
Ha! What are you saying?
He found your outings quite painful. My words left Daniel looking bewildered. After learning about the affair, I subtly asked Leo about Daniel's behavior when they went out together. Leo tearfully revealed,
Dad tells me to call that lady Mom. But I don't want to go with them because Dad says bad things about you.
Despite not fully understanding the situation, it seems Leo sensed the unsettling atmosphere creeping into our family. And you tried to keep this a secret, right? Do you realize how much pain Leo went through?
I didn't think. Leo was supposed to choose me over you.
That's impossible. You hurt Leo to satisfy your desires. You're unfit as a father. In my rage, Daniel finally collapsed to the floor, realizing the gravity of it all. Then, in desperation,
Please. I'll apologize for the affair, but just let me have custody. Look at me.
He clung to me, but his apologies and shattered pride fell on deaf ears. If it had come to this, he should never have cheated in the first place. Dragging Leo into this, there's no way I'll grant custody to someone like that. Prepare yourself for alimony. With a final word, I confronted them with reality. Daniel and Madison stood frozen, their faces drained of color. Afterward, Daniel and I divorced. Naturally, I gained custody, and I demanded $30,000 each in alimony from him and his affair partner. I also planned to seek child support until Leo grew up. Apparently, rumors about this incident spread at their workplace, making it uncomfortable for both of them. In the end, they broke up, leaving Madison burdened with debt. As for me, I returned to my parents' home with Leo and continued my work as a nail artist. Ms. Smith, of course, remains a cherished client. I'll watch over Leo's growth alongside my kind parents and strive for happiness.
How did you like this story? Please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.